Hello and welcome to the Paddle School podcast. Your host and paddle coach Sandy here. Each episode I will share with you my paddle coaching experience, bringing you top tips, latest news from around the world and interviewing some of the leaders in the industry, and all to help you play your best paddle. So let's not waste any more time, get comfortable and enjoy the episode. In this episode, we're going to talk to a huge ambassador for paddle in the United States. Marcoss Pilar has been there for the last few years and really has done some fantastic projects over there. So we're going to dive into his background, what he's been doing over there, some of the projects that he's worked on, and some of his advice for anyone looking to start up their own paddle club. So we'll jump straight into the introductions. So first of all, Marcoss, thank you so much for coming in and doing this podcast with me. I'm really excited to do this, and obviously we're on a big time difference here, you in the US and myself in Dubai. Before we get into the questions, I just wanted to find out a little bit more about your background, how you got into paddle yourself, and then we'll go from there. So could you tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, thank you very much, Sandy, for the invite, and I'm delighted of being here with you, man. So thank you. Well, what I can tell you is that, you know, I started my career obviously on the tennis side. So at the beginning, you know, when I was a child, I tried to become a tennis pro. I also played some tournaments, you know, challengers and this kind of thing. So at some point I became, you know, tennis coach, and in the meantime, I was, you know, exploring my side of entrepreneur as well. So, and I remember that I built, and this is funny, but I built my first tennis school when I was only 14 years old with almost 100 children, man. So anyway, so after that, you know, obviously I got some management positions on racket sport brands, and, you know, start building facilities and running my own facilities. Tennis first, then at some point we start building padel. And well, this has been my background. So connected with brands, you know, owner, player, almost everything. So I have a 360-degree vision of the industry, as you can see.
And Marcoss, is this in Spain? So you grew up in Spain playing tennis and then paddle?
Yep. I was born in Madrid, and I lived in Spain for until I was 29 or something like that. Then I started traveling a little bit because, you know, at some point by running my own facilities in Spain, you know, I felt like kind of stuck, and I just wanted to explore the world, and I had the dream to spread the word out of padel all over the world. So I started in Europe by visiting, you know, different countries there, you know, Italy, France, you know, Austria, so many countries. And at some point the opportunity came, and someone offered me to come to the US, and said, hey man, I just want to go do it. So
that's good. I do have to ask as well, because I've seen you in interviews and videos before. Why do you pronounce it padel?
Well, that is such a great question, Sandy. So, and lots of people are asking me about it. So let's say that first time I was here in Miami, so 4 years ago, I think, we started to promote the sport and telling everyone, hey, padel is coming. So this is a new sport that is the fastest growing sport in the world. This is so much fun. And a lot of people told me like, no, Marcoss, but I've been playing padel in the Northeast, you know, in New York for the last 20 years. And I said, what? But no, man, cannot be the same padel. And they said, well, then I discovered, you know, after some discussions and you know, some research, I discovered that these guys have here a sport that is called platform tennis, but they call it padel. So they have been playing padel for the last 50 years, in fact. And then we realized that we needed to call it differently. And then that's the reason we started to call this our padel in the rest of the world is padel in the United States.
And is that something that's been a bit of a difficulty for you? Is because obviously they do have other offshoots of racket sports, like the pickleball, pop tennis, the platform tennis. Has it been difficult to differentiate paddle?
Well, at the beginning, like 4 years ago, it happened to me all the time. I promise, man. It was so tough because I had to repeat and repeat and repeat my elevator pitch all the time. Every single place that I went, I was, explaining. But at this point, after 3 years working with the institution, promoting the sport, being on TV, so many things that we've been doing, uh, I can skip that part. So let's say that a majority of the people here connected with racket sports already know about padel. So now, we have a better environment, to grow, because we don't have to explain anymore. So I think it is coming pretty easy now.
Okay, that's a good sign. And obviously, the when we're talking about paddle and the US Federation, that was set up obviously a long time ago, and you arrived to Florida how many years ago, Marcus?
It's about 4 years from now.
4 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And how have you found the development of paddle around the US, whether it's federation involved or not?
Padel started in the United States around the 90s, even earlier. So, and people don't even know about it. But these guys, the first generation, and I really know some of them. They build great things. So they did a great job. Give exposure to the sport. I have a picture, man, that is very valuable, with George Bush, the president of the USA, with a padel racket, man, and being the grandfather of kind of inter countries match against Argentina and Mexico. So I mean, padel has been in the country for more than people think. But let's say that for the last 2 3 years, 2 years, we've been able to make great changes. So let's say that, and I'm considering myself, part of the second generation of padel in the United States. And I don't have anything but good words for people that work so hard in advance. So these guys, great, good efforts, and I cannot be more than pleased for everything they did. So, but at this point, I have the feeling that we can keep on growing the sport and doing, growing the community as well, and more coming, bringing more players, making bigger the community, and getting, probably institutions involved, building more clubs, and really growing the sport.
When you talk about growing, just as an idea for numbers, do you know roughly how many courts there are in the US?
Well, under my account is between 70 to 80.
70 to 80.
Which is not too much. Yeah. 79 or 78 under my personal account.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously it's difficult for you to know, but do you have a rough idea of participation numbers, or how many people are playing?
Well, the association, with President Pilar, the USPA is now, I think it is about 200 women ranked, and about 450 men. But I'm assuming that the players are probably 3 times that, or something like that. Let's say kind of 1,000, or not too much so far. We're working hard on that.
And are most of the players, because when I played the last World Championships, the US team was obviously speaking Spanish to each other. So are most of the players either from Mexico or South America, do you find at the moment?
Well, at the beginning, the early adopters of the sport were coming from South America, kind of Argentina connection, Mexico connections, kind of this. But at this point, and we've been proven that padel is a sport that can grow everywhere in the country. And I can tell you, man, every single American guy that I get in the court with me for 10 minutes, man, they all come to me saying, "Hey, Marcos, I really love it, man." So this is the best sport ever, and Americans for sure, getting in love, absolutely in love with the sport. So I don't think it is a Latin sport anymore. So, and this has been proven to grow in every single country in the world. So the opportunity is huge.
Yeah, and obviously you do a lot of the coach education as well. And I imagine, like the UK, you probably have a lot of the people on your coach education are tennis coaches. Are they tennis coaches that in clubs or tennis players that want to learn to coach? Is that normally your audience for those courses?
Well, not too much, man.
Oh, really?
Not too much. Yeah. So the way that I'm trying to grow the sport in the country is looking for what I call the blue oceans, all the time. So obviously we have a great target connected with tennis and all racket sports, and we can also mention later, so many racket sports growing in the country. But I'm always looking for new opportunities. So I'm trying to get people involved, that has never been connected with racket sports, even racket sports. So obviously tennis, but I'm getting in touch with people that just are, connected with the sports. They are fitness guys, and I'm trying to inspire them and show them the opportunity that a better future can be achieved, by jumping into padel. Because at some point when you inspire people and you can show them what is the possibility of the sport, and having so much fun, so easy to learn, and it can also become a really good income for them. So at this point, I don't mind, getting people involved from different points of industry, sports, or whatever. So let's say, to be honest, let's say that 50% of the guys that I certified in the country, which in fact are 50 guys. So we have more than 50 people certified in padel.
That's good.
In a country with only 70 courts.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of crazy.
Yeah, almost
But
one coach per court.
yeah, and I gotta tell you, and you are doing a great job in Dubai as well, and you know what I'm talking about. You know, this part is really tough, man. Looking for leaders, getting people involved, because we really need ambassadors. So I'm always saying that I'm looking for leaders. I can teach them how to play padel and how to teach, and how to learn how to play. But at some point, I'm looking for leaders, for people that can become an ambassador of the sport and help us to grow. Because I would love to have, one guy, super great guy in every single city, every single town, to make, padel massive in the US. That's my dream, man. You can feel my passion, right? It's like, oh my God, man.
Yeah, that's good. And you said obviously 50% from tennis. So looking, as you called it, the blue oceans, would you, if you were trying to develop paddle in the US, would you approach tennis clubs, or do you think that you would rather have standalone paddle? So paddle either as part of a tennis club or as a standalone club. What would be your preference over there, do you think?
Well, at this point, I think it is, business-wise, make more sense, to build padel courts on a racket sport facility. Because you don't have to build, the building, you don't have to build the bathrooms, the bar, and everything. That's already done. So the investment, and the return of investment is going to be more accurate, since you don't have to build everything. So at this point, let's say that my most of my conversations with investors are focusing on, hey, why don't we use this space that it's already been built, or we can just build some courts, bring in someone to be in charge and doing the right things, and that's it. We're ready to go.
And actually that leads into my next question, which I saw you did a project in Philadelphia, where I think you just put in a few courts. It didn't look like it was part of a tennis club. And I kind of heard that it was just a temporary club for, a part of the year. How can you tell me about that project? How did that come about? Was it successful? That kind of thing.
Well, Padelphia was the name of that. Padel in Philadelphia, and we call that Padelphia, right? So Padelphia was meant to be, the first pop-up facility for padel in the country, and we did it. So I spent like 2 months there last summer, and man, we did a super great job to showcase the game, to promote the sport. We were on TV. Well, in fact, I built a community of players for more than 250 players in 1 month and a half. Running leagues with the clubs, and giving lessons, so many activities. I can tell you this: we were on TV, man, national TV, 15 minutes live.
That's cool.
On the Sky News. We were on the radio, newspapers. We create so much excitement in the city. It was crazy.
How many courts were there, Marcoss? Sorry to interrupt.
Only two. But it was pretty intense, man. I can tell you, I was there like 15 hours a day, doing my best, running almost all the activities, and it was great for the sport. So even when it was meant to be just a pop-up, a temporary court, at this point, I can tell you, I don't know if this is confidential, but I'm telling you anyway. So now we have the agreement with the city for making it permanent. So after so much excitement, the city starts saying, hey, maybe we can make this happen, and we would love to have you guys again. And all the children were so happy, people, the community, and we are just about to make this comeback again and stay forever. So Philadelphia will have padel.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Thank you, man.
And so how because I think that's a great kind of model, is to go in and put the courts in as a pop-up, drive the community and see and really showcase what padel is, and then obviously then there's the option to make it full-time. How did that come about? Did you approach the kind of Philadelphia local council, or did you find the land first, or did someone approach you to build it? How did that work?
Well, it depends on every place. You gotta be aware of so many different circumstances. So I don't even remember exactly in Philadelphia, but what I can tell you is that we are absolutely pitching, or at least in my case, I'm pitching padel everywhere. Everywhere means everywhere, to everyone. So I'm also paying, events from my pocket, to I remember myself, this TV show called Shark Tank.
Yeah.
So I paid $800 to go meet one of these guys giving an event, a presentation, and I just paid from my pocket to be there. And as soon as I have the chance, I just, stand up and say, hey, I need to pitch you about something that is coming to the US. This is the fastest growing sport in the world, man. This is a super business. And I did my elevator pitch. So I'm literally pitching to everyone. So looking for opportunities, everywhere, getting investors in, business owners, tennis venues, pickleball venues. So no matter. So whoever is connected with the business, he's heard about padel from Marcoss del Pilar.
Yeah, that's good. That's amazing. And I'm hearing about it in Dubai. So you're obviously doing a good job.
Is that right?
Yeah.
No, you're kidding me.
You're on the social media. I see you everywhere. So Marcoss, talking about pitching, you also did a kind of Rackets Conference. I saw it was like a weekend where some of the Adidas players, I think you had Martita come over, and a couple of the guys, maybe Seb and Aroni, I can't remember, and do an exhibition, as well as, I think it was combined with other racket sports, wasn't it? Was that a good kind of conference, a good project for padel?
Well, in fact, it was the PGA show, which in fact has more than 45,000 attendees, and we just built the court between the racket show and the PGA show. So we were in the middle of everything, and we built this padel court. So many program activities for 3 days. we obviously brought, Martita and Seva, and I was playing there with them as well, and some of the guys from the United States. And offering the attendance the possibility of getting in touch with Padel, and we did the official introduction of the sport. Well, let's say the official reintroduction of the sport, because as I told you, Padel was brought from these guys, like 20 or 25 years ago, but now 2 years ago we did it in Orlando, this big event, and it was massive, man.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so what would you recommend is the best way? Like, for example, if you've got a tennis club, or you've got someone interested in building a court, let's say they just build 1 or 2 courts to begin with because they're not too sure about the sport, how would they go about that? Obviously to contact you, but would you recommend going that route like Philadelphia, where you build a pop-up court, or what would you say they had to do?
Well, from the club perspective, it's pretty easy, because they usually have, the land, on thinking about the space that we are using for building padel courts. Man, real estate is a big argument that we can use all the time. So make total sense, building padel instead of any other sports. But I usually recommend, try to start using 2 tennis courts that they are not having, plenty of people. And why not, bringing this new excitement, this new engagement, retention, activity, everything that
So my question is something that I see a lot in the UK, or even here in Dubai, is that tennis clubs are building 1 or 2 paddle, and then those courts are immediately full after maybe 5 or 6 months, and then it's difficult to build more courts. How many courts do you think would be a good number to start with if you're in a good location or you've already got a member base?
Well, what I usually advise people is to start with 3-4 courts, and as soon as you get the traction enough to move forward, start thinking about putting probably 3-4 more. In Philadelphia, as soon as you create, kind of excitement, 2 courts is like nothing, because you are always packed and there's no way to grow the community. So even if you are thinking about running kind of events or, tournament or something, there's nothing you can do with less than 3-4 courts.
So in Philadelphia, for example, would your plan to build another at least 2 or 3 courts?
What if I can do, will do, because at some point, it was packed, Sandy. It was packed in 1 month and a half. So make total sense, to start building 3-4 more courts, and then growing a big community there.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so just to change track slightly, and I want to look at the kind of coach education that you run at the moment.
Okay.
With your coach education, obviously you're in a country where the sport is developing. So are you doing courses to educate people about paddle, or are you doing courses that are predominantly how to become a coach in paddle, or you're kind of doing a mix of the both?
Well, the right answer is probably both things. So let's start with the official certification that we are running with All for Padel, and in partnership with the USPDA, with CEO Mr. John Embry and his staff, that they are giving us a great support and helping us to grow the sport. So we run this certification, is what I told you, more than 50 certified guys in the country. We're very happy, I work very, very close to the USPDA, and I don't think we can make this happen with them. So by having this community behind and working so closely, I think we're pretty close to probably making it bigger and bigger based on education, and that's important, man. But in addition to that, gotta tell you, so not only people that is interested or are interested in getting certified has to be educated in padel. So every time that you jump into a court, we gotta educate people, and which is more, we gotta educate an entire population. Sandy, you are doing that in Dubai as well. So we need to educate, and this is something that I usually bring when talking about padel, man. We have a big opportunity, but we also have a big responsibility, because to grow the sport, with sustainability and making it properly, we gotta take care of every single player. And I'm talking about the industry, not the players on court, that obviously as well, but we gotta take care of everyone. So we need to make sure that we have the right standards, going on, and move forward from them. So we gotta take care of the people that are building course. We gotta take care of the brands. We gotta create opportunities for coaches. We gotta take care of the players. We gotta take care of the juniors. We gotta take care of the education. We gotta do so many things. So it's not only jumping into a court and teach how to teach. It's more than that. Is trying to build, or at least in my opinion, is try to build an entire industry in every single country we go. So it's much more beyond than teaching a forehand and a backhand.
Yeah, it's a big machine, and I think it works differently in different clubs or different situations. I know in Europe a lot of it is it's the clubs that they're the ones also that drive the sport, and if the club is set up right, then like Spain, for example, they run so many events and so much from the clubs, and hopefully that's what we can get these countries to do, because your aim really is to educate the people that are managing the clubs so that they can then successfully run the paddle, right?
Exactly. And in addition to that, we gotta educate sport lovers to start loving padel as well. So it's a constant education. So
what advice would you give to someone that is involved in paddle, either at their club or they're thinking of building a club? Like what piece of advice would you give someone that is managing a project like that?
I think life is about passion. So I usually say that happiness is contagious, because lots of people are coming to me all the time and say, hey man, every time we are with you, we're having so much fun, and we are plenty of energy. And I think, man, we as leaders, we have the responsibility of spreading this passion out as well. So you need to love what you do for making others love what you do and what you love. So passion is key. Obviously, you gotta get the knowledge, how to activate some chords, and in my opinion, you gotta spend some time with people with experience, and getting certified, no matter the country you are or whatever, but you gotta be certified and and obviously know perfectly what you are gonna do. But if I gotta choose one word, it's probably that. It's passion, man. We gotta make, we can change the world, and it all depends on passion.
And also, by the sounds of it, because obviously this is exactly what you did in Philadelphia, it's a lot of hard work and energy. Like it.
No, absolutely. So there's nothing you can get in life, man, if you are not working hard. So
Marcus, I have one more question for you. I kind of try and finish like this. Obviously, you're a good paddle player. I've seen you play in some of your exhibitions.
I used to.
And like me, you came from tennis. So and many of the people that take up paddle are also from tennis. So if you're thinking back to when you learned paddle, maybe it's not too long ago. What would your one thing that you would do differently when you're learning paddle, knowing what you know now?
From my very beginning in padel, I made sure that I was spending a lot of time with the best coaches in the world. So I was spending time with the best players in the world, and just listening and learning, and I keep on doing every day, man. So I obviously think that I can keep on learning every day. So just made sure that I was, having the best knowledge around and listening to them like a child, with open eyes all the time. And that's the way I figured out my current way of teaching, by mixing all them, because I can see good things in almost everyone. And you just adapt. What you think it is better from this guy is so good in this, and this guy and this guy, and you develop your own way of teaching.
That's good advice as a player learning, or as a coach wanting to become a coach, or even as a club manager wanting to learn how to manage a paddle club, is to always be prepared to learn, I guess.
Well, this is in my case, at least, it's a life philosophy. So I just wake up early in the morning and I think like, hey, I just want to learn something new. But you gotta be like open for that, like thinking that you know it all. Probably you are very close to get, different inputs and listen to everyone else and this kind of things. But thinking about the court, I was thinking like, I think I spent, so much time, without defending. I was hitting everything half volley. I spent probably 1 or 2 years without, just getting scared about the wall. And now, since I just jump into the court, I talk to everyone and say, hey, look, man, let the ball go to the wall, because everything is going to be much easier. But I could probably change that, because I spent 1 year and a half like being scared. And I was even, winning some tournaments without almost defending anything. And I was like, oh my God, I need to learn,
That's exactly the same for me. I wish I had learned the walls when I first started playing, instead of half volleying everything to avoid them. Yeah.
That's probably the reason we now focus so much on that with everyone, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But at least we've learned the rules now.
Well, I keep on learning. I can tell you.
Mike, I just want to say thank you so much for doing this podcast interview with me. I really appreciate it. And it's been great to kind of catch up with you and just to speak about these things. And I'm sure that the listeners, will find it very, very valuable. Where can people that are listening find out more about you, on your social media, or where should they go?
Well, first of all, thank you, Sandy. Thank you for the invite. As I told you before, I'm more than happy, man. Every time you need me, just call me or, email me, wherever you need. We need people around, and I will do the same with you, if you don't mind. So from now on, we're becoming good friends and working together. So for people to contact me, they can use my social media. Instagram is marcos.delpilar, or just looking for me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, everywhere.
So some really valuable information from Marcoss there today in this episode, and I think you can see the passion that he has for the sport. And when you're starting your own project, you're going to need that passion and drive to really get it off the ground. I hope you found this episode useful. If you did enjoy it, please don't forget to subscribe and review the show, and hopefully you'll join us for the next episode.